The latest racing news.
It's At the Races with Steve Byk on Sirius XM Radio.
Here in Pennsylvania, we're proud of our breeding program, the best in North America. But we're also proud to be leaders in this industry. The PA Horse Breeders Association is funding cutting-edge research at Penn Vet into equine health and safety. And we endorse the SAFE Act to help protect the most vulnerable horses. Plus, we're pleased to support the aftercare programs set up by our horsemen's groups. Just a few of the reasons why you should join us in Pennsylvania, the premier place to breed and race.
Who you betting on? How about an app created specifically for horse racing? Naira Bets. We specialize in thundering hooves, fist pumping, and boosting your bankroll with robust weekly promotions and offer betting tips from actual horse racing experts. Bet all day and night nationwide. Get the action and thrill of horse racing with Naira Bets. $200 deposit match with promo Steve200. Visit NairaBets.com for details.
The Ponds family's Country Life and Maryland Farms are the place for breeding and racing in the Mid-Atlantic. Country Life is nationally recognized for making stallions and curly stands, the Mid-Atlantic's leading first and second crop sires, Divining Rod by Tappan and Mosler by Warfront, as well as Friesian Fire. Maryland's 5/8 mile training track completes the full-service facilities from the folding barn to the racetrack. Join the excitement of racing with Country Life Farm, where our partnerships can take you from beginning to winning.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
Visit ua-rtip.org today.
Why, in the past decade, has BRL Equine become the premier equine supplement company in the industry? Because we spend millions in research and development before we ever put out a product. Because we use only FDA-supervised facilities to manufacture for us. Because what we say is in them is in them. Because they work. Because if you're not happy, I'll give you your money back. And because top trainers and veterinarians in thoroughbred racing, standardbred racing, 3-day eventing, and barrel racing all trust in BRL Equine. Shouldn't you? To find out more how Flexify HA, Unlock, Bleeder Shield, and EPO Equine can help you, contact me, Joseph Ferrante, 215-501-6880.
Horsebills.com is a cost-effective, time-saving paperless revolution. Vendors are able to generate electronic invoices for owners and other vendors who can pay through Horsebills.com for just 50 cents. Turn hours of work into minutes with our easy-to-use site. Have our team take over your bookkeeping or continue to do it yourself and pay only our low monthly subscription fee. Check out our video tutorial on the Horsebills.com YouTube channel and get started today for free. Horsebills.com. Toll-free number 888-938-4643.
Test, level check from my end, test. Look, looks good, nice. You're good for phone? Stick mic, good, all right. McPeak, and then Jack Sisterson, and then me. I'll send numbers. McPeak, Jack Sisterson, Mig, Ormond. And then probably Anthony Stabile.
Breaking down the biggest stories in the world of horse racing. This is At the Races with Steve Byk on Sirius XM Radio. Breaking down the biggest stories in the world of horse racing. This is At the Races with Steve Byk on Sirius XM Radio. Breaking down the biggest stories in the world of horse racing. This is At the Races with Steve Byk on SiriusXM Radio. SiriusXM Sports presents At the Races with Steve Byk. Horse racing, handicapping, interviews. This is At the Races with Steve Byk.
A very good Monday, race fans. Sirius 162, XM 207, Sports Zone 999. If you're listening to Sirius XM online and at our website, stevebyk.com. A fun weekend. Speaking for me and Tina, to start out with, I guess that's the first order of business. We had a really nice anniversary weekend, and going down to Philly, always a winner for us. I think we've won Tina over. Not that there was ever any resistance at ever point, but she really, I think for the first time in my memory, she said to me at one point, "Boy, we really could live here, couldn't we?" Yes, we could. Yes, we could. I've wanted to live in Philly for, I don't know. I mean, since I was fairly young. I don't know if I've ever said this before. You remember those book covers that you'd buy, like in August for getting ready for school, and if you didn't make them out of grocery bags, you could buy like a 6-pack, and it had colleges and universities, and one of the first ones I got was for Temple, in Philly, and being young and being a Jewish kid, and I thought, wow, Temple, because he would go to Temple, and I thought, that's where I want to go to school. And then I sort of shifted to Penn and Haverford, but over the years. But anyway, that was the origin, and being an Eagle fan, that was the origins. Absolutely was my interest. So I don't know. But the key is the grandchildren. If we could get the grandchildren closer, if we could get them from Rochester to maybe, I don't know, maybe to Long Island or Westchester, maybe, I don't know. Anyway. We had a fabulous time, and speaking of the grandchildren, we were with the other son in Manhattan yesterday, and had a perfect bookend to the weekend. Friday, the Rittenhouse Square Art Show, and it was the funniest thing. We came around the corner and run smack into Will Schwartz and his wife and Val, and it was funny because we were going to be together, of course, on Saturday, and then Will had that nice maiden breaker in the second race on Saturday, and we had a fabulous afternoon. Just certain people that you see at least the once a year, but certain people you also see elsewhere at other racetracks, and obviously, am I done? Yeah, I'm sort of tap dancing around, talking about the actual race day at Philly, because it was not without. It was not without incidents and without breakdowns, and this turf course situation, which just is inexcusable. It was just no excuse, and nobody came out of this without injuring reputation, and that of course includes the HISA administration, who involved themselves in the park's turf course, pronounced it safe, and not laying it at their feet per se, but they share and shoulder part of the responsibility here. I mean, the absolute more than lion's share lays at the feet of Parks, who just does not seem to care. I mean, this turf course, Tony and I talked about it during the week, and 2 weeks ago when the problem, was really apparent. And Tim Woolley deserves a lot of credit. Tim Woolley went out there and he won the early turf race, and was thankful that his horse got around safely. That was the Alphabet Soup. But Tim went out there with his camera, with his phone, and obviously when you're seeing the pan, it looks fairly green. When you saw Tim walking along the turf course, and you saw just the huge swatches of dirt, and a lot of those swatches were filled in with sand and trying to level it off, which was part of the issue of why it was closed to begin with. But frankly, you were going to try to use the course. You didn't. And I won't even. You know what I was going to say? If you were going to have the one race, the graded stake, fine. But you know what? Not fine. The Turf Monster was a grade 3, and you don't want to, as New York did, you didn't want to run that off the turf when it came to the Troy, and you understand that. But I just we've discussed this a number of times over the years. There's just a general lack of real concern, the bare minimum done, more often than not. And like I said to Tony on Friday, it's sad because the atmosphere was fabulous there on Saturday. You had the park area was packed. I mean, they had a huge crowd, and you had tons of families, and from an atmosphere standpoint, and doing all the things that you do to have a big day. It was all in place except for a fully realized and healthy turf course to run your turf stakes on. It's inexcusable. There's no, if that's going to be the attitude, then stop using the turf altogether. Stop carting turf races. If you're serious and responsible, tear it up and resod it and reseed it and make a healthy turf course. But there's not a comfortable middle area to walk from a standpoint of acceptable conditions. So just you go to a day like that and you just hope that that there's obviously safe racing is first and foremost, and couldn't get that done. Now, of course, part of it also, you had the main track too. I mean, you had the incident in the Miss Blue Tie-Dye in the Philly race. So I just, you go and you want everything to work, and it basically is impossible to leave, fully, having fully enjoyed the day, because there's nobody's happy, least of which the connections that whose horses are stricken, and then the players who had planned to play. You had the force out of the pick 5, you had the multi-race sequence, you had the cross country that was involved in this, and you are not being a responsible, I don't know if I should call it a corporate citizen, but I mean, as a business entity that's part of the amalgam of the racing industry, it's irresponsible. So there's no other way to characterize it. When it came to I guess technically the second half of the day, because the incidents that created at least the difficulty of the race coming off, the turf monster coming off the grass. Beyond that, there was a lot to anticipate. In particular, the graded stakes, obviously the Gallant Bob and the Cotillion and the Pennsylvania Derby. And from that standpoint, you got, what everybody I think was hoping for. We'll talk to Kenny McPeak in about 10 minutes. And the Cotillion win by Torpedo Anna, not without some challenge, and I guess you can debate about the trip. I mean, I there was nothing wrong with the trip per se. Brian Hernandez Jr. Was being, pocketed and race ridden a little bit, and that, that's part of the equation. When you're the horse with the big target on your back, that's what's going to happen. And once Brian got that seam to, kind of muscle his way through, she engaged Gunsong, who ran super, just super. I mean, I was hoping from the way I sort of approached it, that Mystic Lake might be able to wire. She couldn't. She got tired. She held for fourth, but Gunsong ran the absolute best race as the longest shot on the board. I don't know if she deserved to be 45-1, but even in an 8-horse field, she got lost a little bit, and she had her nose in front, and Torpedo Anna got to her, and Gunsong did not relent. Johnny, great job, and Flavian Pratt with a great job on Tarifa to basically, try to hem Torpedo Anna in, and to give his mount and anybody else's as much of a chance as they could to beat her. But she's obviously, this is obviously just a really, really good. I mean, she's just, what can you say? She kind of came back to earth a little bit from a fig standpoint. Back kind of in line with the Oaks and the Oaks wins and the Acorn, etc. 90 something, 93, I think, right? Yeah, 93. From a buyer standpoint, no, she will head toward the distaff, and a distaff win. I mean, how do you not make her horse of the year? She's having it's that kind of a campaign. And there really is no other in light of what transpired, 45 minutes later with Seize the Gray. I did say, I put up the figures yesterday morning. In fact, as Tina and I were driving to Manhattan, and I pulled the figures together, and I said, highlighted by the two classic winning, the two classic performers that were in those two races. And it really was that simple, because Seize the Gray, as your Preakness winner, Seize the Gray is the class of the field. And I mean, if you go back to our conversation with Jeff Franklin when we did the Third Graph segment on Thursday, I made the point, Seize the Gray had that pattern, sheet methodology, had the big effort, and then, kind of had clearly regressed, but was circling back, and it did appear ready to run the A race. The problem, at least from a pace perspective, that when you handicap this thing, you said to yourself, well, he's best on the lead, but there's a lot of pace here. And then there wasn't. It's Jaime Torres. Good for Jaime Torres. He took control, and it was just like the Preakness in so many ways. You just at one point you said to yourself, he's going to win this. They're not going to reel him in. And Stronghold made that move, very much like the Derby, right? Stronghold circled up, and you thought, well, the only horse that at that point, I said to myself, now Stronghold's the only horse that can beat him. And then in another couple of jumps, it was like, oh, no, he's not going to beat him. And Torres, after what, 23-4, 49-1, 113-4, forget it. That was it. He just powered away, and ends up winning by 3 3/4 on the chart. And Stronghold Fresu able to get by and have the head ahead of Dragoon Guard, who had, Dragoon Guard ran fine. I mean, we were all against him, right? We were all against him. He went off favored, and it really just never looked. In fact, when they put up the order of finish, I thought, wow. I never even noticed Dragoon Guard really at any point. It was kind of funny. I said, wait, I didn't even, I didn't realize that he had done that. After that, I mean, I don't know. Unmatched Wisdom, kind of chased, and it was a meek fifth in here as second choice. And Uncle Heavy got up for fourth at 37-1. Boosted the Super a little bit. Super was very good, actually. Just noticing it now. 10-cent Super paid $195. And certainly, Seize the Gray, Stronghold, Dragoon Guard. Any surprises per se in among those? And obviously getting Unmatched Wisdom, the second choice, keeping him out of there was the difference. I bet timeout, and I just did not run. I mean, just sort of trailed throughout. There was at no point did he look like he was going to provide a rally at all. So a huge win, and Seize the Gray now one of a small. In fact, Dave Grenning wrote about it yesterday in the recap in the Sunday follow-up story. One of just a handful of horses that have won 2 grade 1s. And now you got a little bit of you've got a very fun 3-year-old, right? We said this last week, that if Seize the Gray, were to win, him and Fierceness and Dornick, and we'll see what Wayne wants to do. He is weighing options, and he'll see how the fields shape up for the Classic and for the Dirt Mile. Wayne told Dave Grenning that there is a bonus, a Breeders' Cup bonus involved in the deal with Gainesway. So if they can win a Breeders' Cup race of any ilk, so maybe it will be the mile. We'll see. Wayne's not going to decide today. So anyway, the two most accomplished horses from and not that Torpedo Anna at 1-9 was. I mean, I tried to beat her, but that's my nature. But when it came to the Preakness winner in this spot, he was the class, and the My Racehorse crowd absolutely gleeful. Everybody was gleeful. It was a fun scene. Earlier, also before we reach Kenny, the Gallant Bob was really good, and what an interesting season this Ben Tornato has had. Jose D'Angelo with another nice win, and Irad aboard. This for Leon King Stable Corp, and this horse has done a little bit of everything, having gone and placed in the Saudi Derby. As a 2-year-old, he was running in the old Calder Florida Stallion races. Then he came back, and his return race was 7/8 in the Hilton at Charlestown. Then he shortened up just a little bit more for this, and terrific race. I was on Sunny Breeze and Ned Allard, and what can you say? He ran great, ran absolutely great. 18-1 too, which was a nutty price. And just I don't know. I thought maybe he had live. I thought he had gotten the nod, but he didn't. Very good Gallant Bob and Carino and then Maximus Meridian, third and fourth. The disappointment in here was One Sharp Cookie, who was bad. This feels like a group that's going to end up being good sprinters as they mature. This thing got a 101 buyer for Sunny Breeze and for Ben Tornato. Yeah, so it's good. Tons of other recapping to do, of course. Friday, the Presque Isle Masters, roses for Deborah. Now she's 5 for 5. 5 for 5 at Presque. We'll talk to Christophe Clement, start the second half in the morning, and we are looking forward to it. I don't know if you saw the thing I put up on Twitter, but I added up because I knew, I've been talking about Clement for a couple of weeks, and I added it up in the last 60 days since he won the Caress with Don't Look Back at All. He's got 13 stake wins in 8 weeks. Yeah. Quite something. With 12 horses. Loon Cry has won 2, but 12 horses, 13 stake wins for Clement in the last 2 months, basically. Even a little bit less, actually, because I think the Caress was like August. It's like August 8th, I think, something like that, 6th or 8th, and so in less than 2 months. So we'll talk to Clement, and if you're wondering, the Masters, the Obeah, the Winter Memory, Sensible Lady, Virginia Oaks, Virginia Derby, the Harvey Pack, the Albany, the Sword Dancer, the Incredible Revenge, the Saratoga Derby, the Sweetbriar 2, and the Caress. Crazy. Just amazing. And he also won the Obeah on Tuesday. The Obeah with the Brazilian invader. Evidencius looks like it's going to be a nice one, too. So we'll talk to Clement. Jack Sisterson is going to join us today, and haven't talked to Jack in forever. Looking forward to that. And Jack with Ocean Club, the Curlin for Craig Bernick. So, and Glenn Hill. I think Kenny McPeak is with us. Kenny?
I charge by the minute. If you keep me on here too long, you won't be able to afford me.
Wait. You're unbelievable. This is Uber McPeak. That's pretty good. I was talking. Talking about bad trip. I don't. The trip was fine. I mean, the other riders are trying to they're trying to make it as hard on her as possible. That's what being the headliner's about.
Well, I didn't have any more hair to lose, Steve, but that was a little bit nerve-wracking. So before the race, I told Brian, I said, look, there's only two ways you're going to lose this race. If somebody steals it on the lead and you can't catch them, or you get boxed in and you can't get out, and then you can't get home quick enough. And, it was one of those deals where I told him, I said, let her run. I said, she's faster than all these horses. You're on the best horse. Let her run. And I think he did that into the first turn, but I think he hesitated down the backside, and Mike Smith dropped in on him. Yep. And when he dropped in on him, they held him in the pocket. And that almost got ugly, but she's ultra brave. And then Brian really overcame it when he split horses when they turned the corner. I mean, there's a really great photo. So I don't know who took it, of her wiggling her way inside of or to her left of Gunsong, and then Teresa was on her outside trying to hold her in, and that was a brilliant move on his part and a great ride on his part. But also he hopped off and he said, "Wow, I made every mistake, but she got there anyway."
And give credit to Mark Henning's horse, Gunsong, who I think is getting better as the season has gone on, and you gotta
any horse that has a race over the track at Parks has an
Yep.
advantage.
Yep.
That racetrack is a little bit tricky. It always has been. I had told Brian I thought I was more concerned about Mark Hennig's horse than any in the race because she has run over it, and she looked like she was really coming to form, and she looked good in the paddock. And she won wire to wire in the Catherine Sophia. Yeah, and so that was one I was worried about, and that's one that almost got us. But look, this shows the resiliency of our filly. Our filly really had never shipped and run before. She was a little nervous the morning of the race over there. She was nervous coming off the van, and she's a real high energy filly, and she does that to herself. But that's kind of her personality, so we don't overly concern ourselves with it. But then, even in the paddock, they drug out post time. I think it was 40 minutes from the time that we left the stables till they actually ran. So she had to deal with that. But once you put the saddle on her, she takes a deep breath and relaxes with the tack on. But just shows how amazing she is. I know people expect her to win by 10 or something, but this game's not quite that easy. And the fact that she got it done irregardless was good.
Well, no, and the margin doesn't matter. And she looked, one thing I was eager to see, if there was any physical, any physical notes to take, whether she, had lost some weight since the Travers, but she looked herself. I mean, she's
ultra consistent. She's an excellent eater. She ate up post race, no problem, and that's
nice.
Been her routine. But she's a good doer, and I don't see any weight loss whatsoever. And people concerned, running her too much this year. What, horses can't run 6 times in a year? It's crazy.
No,
but she's ultra special, as we all know. Well,
and the piling up, of course, the Grade 1 plaudits and Oaks, Acorn, Coaching Club, Pennsylvania here, the Cotillion, and of course the Travers near miss. It's a horse of the year campaign, Kenny, and you made that point to Dave Grenig yesterday.
Yeah, if I don't run her in the Travers, she's under 5 straight Grade 1s. But we'll see. I mean, it's up to somebody else, I think. But if she wins this staff, I mean, I don't know how you could deny her.
I agree. I completely agree. There's no. I mean, she's the horse. The one way to look at this, even beyond the on-track exploits, one of the things, particularly when it comes to fillies or mares being named horse of the year, is are they the biggest story of the season? And she is. I mean, there's nothing comes close.
Yeah. Been a real special ride with her. Hopefully it keeps rolling.
Well, you bring her back to Saratoga and saw where you prefer to keep her training up here, and as opposed to bringing her to Kentucky and giving her another surface to acclimate to, and then you'll start to plot, getting to Del Mar in proximity to the Cup.
Del Mar, Dave brought it to my attention. It doesn't open until 12 days prior to the Breeders' Cup, so there really isn't a lot of space to get out there and settle in, other than what's given. But we'll probably go out there on one of the earlier planes. I think there's one on the 20-something of October. I don't know. And we'd take her out there right on top of the race. Maybe where we got one work over the racetrack, but we'll work on all those logistics over the next few weeks. And I'm at Belmont right now, and then headed to Saratoga either today or tomorrow. I may stay another day here and watch horses here, but yeah, we'll eyeball her and make sure she's good. And all accounts are she's in good order.
Outstanding. Well, a terrific cotillion that helped make the day special, and then of course Wayne has got a way of making all of these days kind of special, whether it's his birthday, closing weekend at Saratoga, Preakness win, and it's quite talk about special. He just keeps getting it done.
Amazing man, no doubt. We're not going to leave this show without me at least acknowledging the loss of Chuck Simon.
Thank you.
And I know you were friends with him. I had a chance to go over to his house and sit with him during August, and he and I watched the races together for a little more than an hour and visited about all he was going through. And I've known Chuck a very long time, and that brings perspective to all this stuff we talk about. And lose a good man, or let's just say a good man lost. So I know you were close to him, and you did a lot to help him, and a lot of us know that, and we're thankful.
Well, he loved that you came over and spent that time, and he said we talked about the filly, and like you say, I mean, you shared any number of back stretches over the years with Chuck, and I appreciate you bringing it up, Ken, and acknowledging it and going over there. And
I keep an angels list.
Nah.
I keep an angels list of people that cared about and that was friends with, and Chuck's on that. Yeah. Good man. And he's up there. He's pulling for us.
Well, and Kenny, in addition, you had a busy weekend. You're obviously focused at Parks, but you were involved in the stake sequence at Churchill as well. Elephant's Ear in the Bourbon's flight and so forth. And I also wanted you to opine on your experience at the sale too, and how you made out at Keeneland.
Elephant's Ear is a good solid run. I mean, batting down much the best there, but my horse, he's a trier. Getting a little stakes place, I think that helps somebody's mare along the way. And
sure.
And he made a few dollars. And the sale was a marathon. I didn't work book 1 and 2 because I stayed in New York with Anna and got in there late on Sunday, and then we worked our tail off. Dominic Brennan and I worked book 2, 3, 4, and 5, and ended up getting 30-something yearlings. My phone absolutely blew up for people wanting horses, but I'm ultra picky, and horses had to pass, the vet exams and the eyeball exams, but we were averaging 5 or 6, sometimes 7 a day, and over the 6 days, and it was a lot of work, but I was real thrilled with what we got, and had some wonderful clients participate, and I have a lot of people that didn't get horses that we need to probably work the Fasig-Tipton October sale to get them placed. I mean, it's just because I've been able to grab horses like Curlin and Swiss Skydiver and Mount Torpedo and a whole long list of others. A lot of people ask me to handle that auction. And really, that's for me, how the sale plays out might dictate what kind of next 2 or 3 years I have. And
sure,
I enjoy doing it, but it is a massive amount of work. We were wore out on the other side of it, and then had the trip up here, to Philadelphia right afterwards. But it's all part of the JOB, and just going to keep grinding away. And got a great team of people to help me handle all that. You can't imagine the logistics of, signing the ticket, letting my office know, and then I got to get somebody to get the release, and then my guys get the trucks over there, and then they get them to Magdalena, and they cycle the truck to Ocala the next day, and they just did a hell of a job. And then that way I could focus in on digging into looking at horses and making acquisitions. And that's a sight to be seen. You'll have no idea what all we go through, but that's you get rewarded down the line.
Well, you talk about the October sale, and that's where you got, right? That's where she came from, Torpedo Anna.
Yeah, Curlin and Swiss came out of the Keeneland sale, but Torpedo came out of October, and the the bunch of older success stories came out of phasing tips in July. But I like all those auctions. I'm actually going to looks like I'm going to go to the Tattersall's Book 2 auction this fall.
Cool.
I'm going to do that in the middle of October, and I'm not a Book 1 guy. I just don't have. I don't think even if I had Book 1 money, I don't know that I would tell people to go there because I don't know that there's great return on investment. And if you're standing stallions that's one thing. But if you're wanting to win races, then you can do that in books 2, 3, and 4. The people that breed the horses in these later books there's a whole lot of horses that we've bought out of later books that once you want a graded stake, then the half brother or sisters in book 1 or 2 the next year or two. So it's all kind of relative. But as long as they hit the wire in front, and most people don't care what book they came out of, right?
No.
So, we're approaching it that way. And I think it's maybe a little bit wiser way to spend money, but the Tattersall sale will be interesting. I'm excited to go over there. I've never worked at book 2 sale, and it'll be a little bit more modest pricing, and I'll probably be able to acquire a few.
Nice. I think Cherie is mentioned she's going, and this was a topic.
Book 1, I think they're book 1 types.
They're book 1. That's fair.
Yeah, David and Gordo. He's fantastic horseman, and I'm sure they're going to be working book 1, but that's okay.
Let me ask you about a couple this week. You got a number of firsters starting to make their way, and David Burnson, you've got, in fact, here's a phasing $30,000 October purchase, lured away, an enticed. I love these, Kenny, bred by the University of Kentucky by their program.
Well, you never know where a good horse comes from.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that horse wants to go longer. We're going to get a little test drive in him going short, but my expectation, he wants more ground than that. And we'll probably come back in a mile and a 16th in his next start. But if he's 4th or better, I think it'd be a good day. But he's a really big horse, kind of a grinder type, and he really doesn't want anything to do with 3/4 of a mile. But it's probably more of a schooling race for those that know that my win percentage isn't massive as first timers, but it's more of a schooling race, and we do that a lot of times.
Absolutely, they got to start somewhere. There's one of those $50,000 auction type maiden races on Thursday. This is all at Churchill. We're talking about the Churchill 5th on Wednesday. Thursday, though, here's a Constitution, Kenny, a filly that certainly bred nicely out of a hard-spun mare, just a $20,000 Keeneland yearling last year. Tim Thornton and partners. It will be fun.
Yeah, she's working well, and she was a modest priced filly, but she's working exceptionally well. Brian Hernandez worked her the other day and contacted me and said, well, that filly can run. And I said, well, yeah, she seems to. And I didn't have anything to do with the acquisition on her. Tim sent her to me. He bought her. I believe Garrett O'Rourke's in on her, the Juddmonte racing manager. So
how about that?
We'll, we'll get a little bit of a. She might not be a test drive. That filly might be locked and loaded. So, and she's fast enough to get there.
You also drew the rail later on the card in the 6th, Dark 30 for Bakari and partners. This is an outwork filly that was a $15,000 Keeneland yearling.
Well, that was one of Chris's purchases, and that filly's doing well. She might be in between whether she can win first time out or not, but has done everything right too, and that's another ideal spot for her. So we'll see.
Moving into the weekend, and on Friday, both More Luck in the 6th and Consecrated in the 8th.
Yeah, Consecrated's a higher power colt, and that's a stallion, first crop stallion that I bought a couple, and we like that horse going a mile, and he should be ready to go. And then More Luck didn't have a great race at Kentucky Downs, but I do think she's a dirt horse, and we'll give her this chance to show that she can improve off that. And if she does, then great. And if she doesn't, then we might end up mid-level claimer on her, but we'll see. Just some of these young horses we're learning about and getting them in the game. And my young horses typically don't come around till fall anyway. So
Sure.
Here we are. We've got a few months to start getting clarity on some of their talent. And there's a long list of them out there right now.
2 questions for stake runners, Rattle and Roll in the Lucas Classic. And then on Sunday, you come back in the Oaks at Remington with Wonder Ride.
I'm really excited about Rattle and Roll. This horse has always been one of our favorites, and I brought him to Saratoga, not this past summer, but the summer before, and he, for whatever reason, he got distal bone bruising coming off the Oklahoma track, which is not something. Well, that kind of surprised me because he'd been such a hard campaigner, and he didn't handle. It came out of the fall, and he just wasn't right, and by September, we decided to put him on the shelf, and he had a pretty nasty case of distal bone bruising where his cannon bones were significantly bruised. And we just made the decision we were going to leave him out until they were perfect. And don't be surprised if this horse wins. I mean, he's doing fantastic. I've never seen him go this good. I've never seen him this big and strong. He is a consummate professional. And, of course, he's coming off almost a year layoff. But it's a race that I'm really excited about. Of course, I'm in New York right now, and I'm going to get home in plenty of time to be able to watch him train before he runs and race Saturday. Because I'd love to think he could make the Breeders' Cup. I don't know what points you need or what kind of how you get in on the Classic, but if he wins the Lucas Classic, I'm going to make every effort to try to get him into the Breeders' Cup Classic because he's begging for 1.25 miles. And if you don't see him there, he might end up in the Pegasus, or he might end up in Saudi or Dubai for the winter in some of those distance handicaps, or even the Oakland handicap. So I think for an older horse, I think the future is quite bright for him.
I like it.
Wonder Ride, Wonder Ride is coming off a third in Parks to Gunsong, which now looking backwards was a good race.
Yeah.
but it's a lovely filly. It's a really, really nice filly, and she's a gun runner out of a mare named Wonderman, who ran multiple stake winner in New York for us. But she had some issues coming out of the Spinaway last summer, a little tibia, and we lost a lot of time with her. And we keep hoping she's going to move forward. And this is kind of like the last 3-year-old filly stake of the season, that we're going to get a chance to get some more black type with her. And I'd love to think that she could win out there. And Scott Leeds has been one of my favorite clients, one of my best clients. And Scott's a little frustrated with the game right now, and hope we can find a reason to keep him around. But he's out there, lives out there. And so I'm sure he'll be there, and we'll fingers crossed, hope she runs big.
Well, it's a big card, Oklahoma Derby Day and Oaks and Remington Green and more at Oklahoma City on Sunday, Lucas Classic and more. A nice card as well. The ACAC and a bunch of maiden races too on Saturday at Churchill. The quick turnaround before Keeneland gets started, and you'll be loaded Keeneland undoubtedly as well. Kenny, well done to you, Brian, and the big filly. And on to the Breeders' Cup with the leading candidate for the Horse of the Year.
And we don't talk about Mystic Dan, not one word.
It's all right. He's 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 getting a little R&R.
Kentucky Derby winner, and he never. But we have to bring him up. He's galloping. He's doing fine. Everybody. He's been got a little bit of a break. He needed it. It was good for him. He really filled out. For those that follow me on Twitter, I'm pretty easy to find at Kenny McPeak. But you're going to get some videos, and this horse will be on he's been training at Magdalena in a small track next to us there in Lexington. Joe DiOrio took some pictures of him the other day. I posted, and then you'll probably see him galloping at Keeneland on Friday or Saturday this week. He's gonna start really picking it up and we're I don't know if we'll make the end of the year or not for a straight through. I love to think we could make the Malibu because I'm not scared to run him 7/8 that fast. And then if he doesn't, then we'll find a nice older horse race to start him in as a 4-year-old. So just fantastic horse and kind of gets left under the radar. How do you forget a Derby winner, Steve? Come on.
Well, it's it's out of sight, out of mind.
I know.
That's all. Everybody remembers him. They'll look forward to having him back. That's all.
Yeah, he's coming back to work.
Very good, Kenny. Well done.
All right. How many minutes was that? We keep track.
Let's see. You came on at about 22. I would call it 26 minutes.
Okay. You owe me lunch.
All right. I'll say. Right. You know what? Let's do something this week. Let's go out to lunch this week when you're in town.
I'll be at Saratoga tonight or tomorrow, so I'll probably be up there till Thursday or Friday.
Perfect. I'll
meet you at Harvest and Harf.
All right. There we go. Tina and I go all the time. Get that pear. Love that pear salad.
It's the best.
Right?
I only live 2 houses down from it.
Do you really? Up the hill?
No, I'm on the lake.
Okay, I'll go heading out. Interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah. I know you. Yeah. I know you were downtown, right? You sold the house. You sold the house on 5th.
Sold that house on 5th to Bob Edwards, and then we also own Mrs. Payson's old house. We use our staff stays in it for the fall, but my wife and I have a little place on the lake.
There's no flies on
Good
you.
Problem, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks, Kenny.
All right, see ya.
Kenny McPeak, everybody, and he's some character. Jack Sisterson's been listening in. Jack, do you want to talk about the win, or do you want to talk about the homes you own?
I'll have to talk about the win because it's not too many homes at the unfortunately.
Well, you didn't pick out Curlin, so it
Oh, we have a daughter, Curlin.
There you go. There you go. I wasn't going to miss a chance to talk to you. You get a nice win. I suppose Craig Bernick probably wants a call too, but it's always great to look up and see that those silks, the orange, the white, and the black, and Glen Hill Farm, and a very nice performance to win the Noble Damsel, Ricardo Santana, and Ocean Club, as mentioned, the Curlin daughter.
Well, it was just after the race, Steve. It was quite humbling, the amount of text that you got, like you said, seeing those silks in the winner's circle. It's a very, I don't know the correct word to say, the position I'm in, Al Barnes in. We're grateful for Craig, Mr. Proctor, Tom Proctor at the farm for supporting us and sending some nice fillies up to Saratoga during the summer. And to be able to work for an operation like that makes our job a little bit easy, sending good horses like Ocean Club.
It's a venerable stable, and of course, Mr. Lavin and Craig has gone on with it, has kind of incorporated a little bit of an international, little international flair to it. He's shopping. He was one of the first to go and watch for horses abroad as well, and just going through looking at her trajectory, Jack, and we'll look at it as soon as I find the chart. There we go. Yep. Stick with it. There we go. You got her. You got her. What? Late spring?
Late spring, early summer, around kind of the end of May, beginning of June, that we got her up in Saratoga.
Tried the Eatontown, the Trillium at Woodbine on the synthetic. You brought her to Kentucky Downs as well, and ran her really 3 weeks, a 3-week turnaround. It seemed to suit her.
I got to give credit to the filly for bouncing out that racing kid. It's not an easy ship going down from from Saratoga down south. And she handled it very well. She didn't break as well as we wanted her to, but she ran very well considering those circumstances. And she came back up to Saratoga, and typically we don't run them back in 3 weeks, but thanks to Craig for allowing the filly to be able to show the public that she was doing that well. And I think the performance showed on Saturday.
She went wire to wire, and she has been better. When Tom would win with her, she was prominent throughout, and that those have been her best races.
Very much so, Steve. You know, going into the race, we'd all discussed with Craig and Mr. Proctor, just allow the filly to be comfortable. Whether she's going quick on the lead or she's sitting in behind, but just give her a head and let her, move efficiently, breathe efficiently instead of grabbing a hold of her. And Ricardo jumped and went forward and had her in a perfect spot, and she was comfortable on the lead, and it worked out well. And I just feel like she's a filly, even in the training, you to go and watch her train on Oklahoma every day. Amanda Oster, her exercise rider, gets on her every day and has really, got to know the filly well. And you can't grab a hold of her in a training as well because she doesn't like it. And Ricardo did a fantastic job with his good hands, allowing her to be comfortable and didn't grab her. And she went quicker than any sort of race that she's ran with us before in forwardly placed, and she liked it, and that's the way she wants to be ridden, and that's the way she wants to train. And I got to thank Amanda as well for her performance, because it's a big team effort, and unfortunately people speak to me and I don't do half of the work as all the people behind the scenes do. So there's a ton of people to credit for that win.
Well, and you mentioned Ricardo Santana, who of course was pressed into service here when Dettori got hurt. It's
a good replacement to have, but Frankie breezed the filly, watched the filly breezed in company with the filly, and actually asked, who was the chestnut filly I worked in company with? I want to ride her. And it was Ocean Club that was down on his inside one day when we were breezing, and he came back the following week and breezed her and wanted to ride her. So, I remember meeting Frankie when I was 6 years old at Doncaster. Never thought I'd ever, been able to work with him. And we were excited that Frankie was riding, this past weekend. It's just unfortunate that, he got injured, and fingers crossed he's on a speedy recovery. But Ricardo was a great replacement and did the filly well.
And you don't typically associate Ricardo Santana, with turf prowess per se, but I was watching it. We were sitting at Parks, and I kind of was like right above my shoulder, and I was watching, and you could see. I mean, she was going easy, and then had to hold off Graham and Five Towns, who was coming, and as well as. Was that I think that was the Clement horse. We're going to talk to Chris.
Breath Away.
Yeah, Breath Away, exactly. And Ocean Club, 5 Towns, Breath Away. So
I think a credit to Ricardo's ability. These good athletes can adjust to any circumstances, and he did that very well, and he rode the grass as good as anyone that day. So we've got to give a huge thanks to Ricardo for that.
What's left on the calendar for her? And I do want to ask you, having watched the race from Kentucky Downs when she was involved in that ladies sprint, and she was making progress, winning this at a mile, and the way she runs, and with your experience in California, Jack, isn't she a candidate to come down the hill?
Yeah, we possibly discussed. I mean, we thought about possibly the Eddie D next week with all that money running against the boys down the hill. But I actually got a great text from Mr. Tom Proctor probably about 20 minutes ago. She's back at Glen Hill Farm now for just an easy couple of weeks. I think it's fantastic what Craig and Mr. Proctor do, allow these horses to go back to Glen Hill Farm in Ocala, and these horses deserve a little break, and she'll get a little bit sun on her back. And I assume maybe something like the Schwanee River, a mile at Gulfstream, if she was to do well, maybe an invitation to the Philly Mare Pegasus Turf. She seems to like down in Florida, and she did come back in 3 weeks after Kentucky Downs, so she's at home now at Glen Hill Farm, and Mr. Proctor reports she's doing well, so that was great to hear.
Very nice. Well, Ocean Club, and great to get the graded stake win, and actually just looking to had a little bit of a break between graded stake victories for you, and so it's nice to get one here, and 3 years actually, Jack. I didn't.
I know. I didn't know it was that long too. I don't know why, but it just makes you, the 7 days a week. That's what we all in the sport for, and I think we've got an exciting few weeks coming up. We're sending a few fillies out to California for Craig, so we've got a great month to look forward to.
Was going to ask you about what's coming up. Give us a couple of hints.
We've a nice filly that she ran in one of the events called Wrigleyville out of the Good Man marketing mix. We're still very optimistic with her. She's going to run in the Unzip-Me, the 6.5 down the hill at Santa Anita on Saturday. We're actually entering her today. And the week after, we run Aspen Grove in the Rodeo Drive at Santa Anita. So we've got 2 fillies to look forward to there.
Excellent. What's next? What's next for Viv coming out of the Music City? Hit the board, and Lady Mary.
She's a nice filly, Viv. She's consistent. She's always hit the board in a US start. So she's been on the go a little bit, although we haven't really ran it too many times. But she's back down at Palm Meadows now, and we might think of the listed race as Sellers Shiraz, I think, November 1st, just to get her back to winning ways, and possibly the Tropical Oaks at Gulfstream at the end of the year, and kind of then put her away for next year. Lady Mary was slightly disappointing, Steve. We hadn't had her long. It's probably the quickest we've ran a European off the plane. Kind of ran a bit flat, but I still think she's a very good filly. So we'll get her back down to Florida, and probably she's got conditions, so we'll run her in a conditions race and get her back to winning ways, and really figure out her ideal distance in America, and go from there.
Nice. You've got, I see Encanto in to try to break the maiden.
Sorry, what's that, Steve?
Encanto?
Oh, Encanto, yes. He's a nice mare, that's called. He's been unfortunate trip-wise. He didn't have a great trip here in Saratoga, and probably it was too sharp from 5 furlongs and repeat the last time. So 7.5 on the grass should be ideal for him.
Very nice. Well, that's coming up this week, and you got him going at Gulfstream. Jack, always happy, and as I watched that, in fact, I even said to Tina, I said, I get to call Jack Sisterson.
Oh, I always appreciate you having me on, Steve.
Not at all. Jack Sisterson, everybody, and the Glen Hill Farm team, one of the most familiar jackets in the game, and Ocean Club, a good way to wound down the 4-year-old season, winning the Noble Damsel. And I just heard from Ron Anderson, because the conversation about Frankie. Frankie is seeing the doctor at noon today, so we'll know more. And Ron says they'll know a lot more today about the shoulder, and how soon he can start taking calls again. So that's the latest on the shoulder separation. They popped it back in, but got to heal up a little bit more. All right. Top of the hour, and Rich Migliori is going to join us here momentarily, and I certainly want to get Rich's take on what we saw in the Cotillion and in the Pennsylvania Derby. I suppose we could call Brian too, and let Brian talk about the way they were pocketing him. But I want to get Rich's perspective, and we'll talk to Tony this week. Obviously, I barely saw Tony on Saturday. when he came over, and he had his son with him, and we got a quick hello, and we were with Mrs. Chapman, and a lot of excitement, by the way. Speaking of Mrs. Chapman, who it's always nice to see, Pat Chapman. They showed Friday night. They had a screening of the Smarty Jones documentary that's been produced, and I don't know if it was the final cut yet, but anyway, it was really well received, and we'll look forward to seeing it. And I told Pat we're going to get her on as soon as, when it's going to. It might end up on Netflix or some streaming service is apparently picking it up. Rich Migliori, we're going to pick up right now.
Hey, Steve, how are you?
I'm good. How was the weekend?
It's good. Kind of a light schedule for me this month. I just worked Friday, Saturday, and it's good. I came back up to the farm yesterday. Nice to have a Sunday off. I got to watch some football. Got to watch the first Rangers preseason game. So it was. It was a relaxing Sunday, a rare thing for me.
Well, especially in the wake of Saratoga season, as we discussed. I mean, the work that goes into the show. And by the way, speaking of documentaries, now that it just all clicked in my head. I was sent. Let me see. Where is it? I was sent yesterday. The Fox producer.
Kevin.
Kevin.
Yeah,
he did a thing with you. A feature, right? It's a featurette.
Yes. Yeah. He a great guy. I mean, just really nice. I think he feels like I don't get as much recognition as I deserve. I don't know if I agree with it, but I mean, he's a great guy, and it's really it was very, very nice and thoughtful. And I don't know. You tell me what you think when you get to watch it.
He sent it to me last night, and what happened was, they kept the last 2 years. He has, at least the last 2, maybe 3. He has spent the summer sort of boarding at our next door neighbor's house.
That's right. He told me that. You know what? And I forgot. I meant to mention that to you several times, and I completely forgot. Yeah, he was living out right by you guys,
right next door. And I talked to him. I guess mid-August. We spent a few minutes, and I don't know what he's going to do because our longtime neighbors. When I got here when did I move here? 99. Yeah, 25 years in May. The neighbors had been there already. I think they had already been living in that house 25 years. And the Simino family, and they had raised, I think, 7 children. And Barb has been the neighbor for me 25 years, and they sold the house. Somebody basically knocked on the door and made them a cash offer, and they couldn't say no. So I don't know what Kev's going to do next year. He may have to. We may have to put him up. I don't know.
I tell you, super talented guy, very, very charismatic. I mean, he's one of the pleasures to work with. Over the summer more. I mean, he was at Aqueduct over the weekend too, and we had a good time. But yeah, you know what's interesting? After the pandemic, I got knocks on my door, people wanting to get out of the city,
right,
looking to buy, my place, and I was like a little blown away by that. But yeah, I mean, sometimes, with all the farm work that you have to do, sometimes you go, might not be a bad idea.
Get out from under this area, this Washington County environs. There was a lot of that, and even before pandemic, there's always been this has always been a popular area. Sort of nestled between Saratoga and Vermont.
Right.
It's a perfect. You're in proximity. You're not so far removed from civilization, But
Well,
you're
I'll
out
be
there.
honest with you. Like spending the summer out where I was, I really don't have any desire to stay anyplace else
Nice.
going forward, or someplace similar. I like the ability to kind of remove myself and disengage a little bit because, like we're talking about just the, it's so labor intensive and you're so locked into it. It's just nice to be able to kind of breathe and get out of town and get away from it just a touch. And to me, it was my favorite summer in a long time up there because of it.
Really nice. Good. I'm glad. And Argyle, Argyle's the next town north of us from Greenwich. And, there's a, did you, we never got to spend any of the time we had anticipated. Did you ever find your way to Spring Lake?
I did not. I didn't.
Well, there's a little tiny lake that when you're on Route 40 and just as soon as you leave Argyle, you know where Locust Grove, you saw Locust Grove Smokehouse.
Yes. Yep.
There's a left-hand turn that goes up a hill. And at the top of the hill, there's this adorable little lake with about maybe 35 cabins. And I love it. It's Spring Lake. And
well, maybe I got to look into there next year. If I can't get the place I had, I'll see if I can get a cabin on the lake. I just like being where it's quiet.
It's one of those, it's one of those little, like an enclave basically. And everybody knows everybody. And whenever a house goes up for sale, it gets snapped up. Well, there's a